This upcoming weather pattern has the potential to produce a lot of snow as cross-polar flow comes back heading into next week. If we take a look at the big picture on the North American view this morning, you can see by the time we head into next week, we've got another shot of Arctic air building up there in Canada that will dive down into the lower 48, bringing those Arctic temperatures returning into the north central US, out down through the Ohio Valley, getting into the Tennessee Valley, and up here into the mid-Atlantic, as well as into the Northeast, and further south into the Southeast as well, all the way down into Florida. Much of the central US will kind of take more of a glancing shot of that Arctic air, and much of the western US will kind of miss out on it altogether. So if you are new to the channel and like detailed weather breakdowns, hit the subscribe button and you're in. You get all my daily content on this channel, and I would love to reach 250,000 subscribers by the end of the month. And you can help me get there by subscribing to the channel and following all my daily content. So here's the setup for this morning for your December the 15th. We've got the polar jet continues to remain active. So we're seeing these relentless systems coming off the Pacific that brings heavy rains along the coastal regions and snow into the higher elevations. And once that heads up into Montana, we've got some winter weather advisories already in place for those areas crossing into Montana, getting into the Dakotas, as well as portions of Wisconsin, getting into Michigan. And then we'll have another system come through back into the Appalachians and sneaking up here into Pennsylvania, as well as into portions of Connecticut. Further south, we do have a warm front that has lifting further back up to the north. And that's what's the cause of some of this fog that's increasing over this area. We had a significant ice storm across portions of Iowa and southern portions of Minnesota yesterday. Now that's replaced with that fog advisories this morning. So it's just kind of a dreary air mass out right now. But here's the overall setup on the surface map. Definitely the polar jet continues to produce that snow for portions of Oregon and Washington, back up into Idaho, as well as into Montana. And there'll be a swath of snow across the northern US, across the Dakotas. That's why we have the winter weather advisories in place. And then we'll have more precipitation once this dives down into Pennsylvania, while producing some of that snow as we head into the afternoon, especially into central Pennsylvania. But there's the warm front that's trying to lift north of the Dallas-Fort Worth area this morning. And then I think once we get into the afternoon, into the evening time frame, this will likely stall around the Red River, producing some severe storms potential. They do have a marginal risk of some of that severe weather. So as we head to the afternoon, we'll likely start to see a changeover to that snow into central Pennsylvania, as well as into portions of New York. Further south, we'll start to see that scattered showers returning for portions of West Virginia, back into areas of eastern Tennessee. There's the stalled front. So we'll have the warm front further south into Texas produce the isolated showers. Once it stalls along the Red River, that'll give you the lift that's needed. Some of the instability a little bit higher with more daytime heating, and some of those actually could turn borderline severe. So don't be surprised if you do in fact see severe thunderstorm warning in and around the Red River this afternoon, heading into tonight, as well as into portions of southeastern Oklahoma and areas of Arkansas as well. So the breakdown over the next 2 days: here's the polar jet producing that precipitation along the northern jet of the jet stream, back into areas of Washington and Oregon, especially along the coast. I mean, they've been seeing relentless amount of rain. In fact, even yesterday, even portions of San Francisco had their first ever tornado warning issued for San Francisco. And in fact, there was actually a confirmed tornado a little bit further south of San Francisco. So yes, there's definitely been some active weather coming ashore off the West Coast. But here's the heavier precipitation that will fall over the next 2 days, the next 48 hours. Complements of that warm front that's lifting further north, spreading those isolated showers along its wake. Some of those could turn severe. Heavier rains move into Arkansas, as well as into western areas of Tennessee, Kentucky, and heavier amounts will start to sneak into portions of Illinois, Ohio, back into West Virginia as well. And some of that transition to snow, once it mixes in with colder air on the backside of the system. But Going into Tuesday, we'll start to see that polar jet start to retreat a little bit as more the southern branch of the jet stream will start to take over. But that's not going to last for very long, because by the time we head into Friday, yes, the polar jet definitely comes back. So here's your jet stream. That's you have the polar jet coming back into play. We'll have another area of Arctic air building up there in Canada, diving down in from the northwest to the southeast, bringing those much colder anomalies back into picture for the north central U.S., back into the Ohio Valley as well as into the mid-Atlantic, and sneaking into the northeast as well. And those will moderate as they shift further southbound into the southeast, but definitely bring some more snow along its wake with that cross-polar northwest flow continue to remain alive and active. We'll see more heavy snow moving back into the picture of the Great Lakes, getting into those areas around Wisconsin, especially into Michigan. That will likely sneak into areas of New York, getting into New England, and then bringing that colder air on the backside. So Friday's setup looks like this. We'll start to see the same type of pattern that we've actually been in for pretty much all of December. We've got the ridge still locked over much of Alaska, much of the West Coast. We'll start to see another piece of polar air coming down from the Arctic, diving down into Canada and diving down into some of the similar areas that has received the coldest anomalies so far for the month of December. And that'll be another quick shot of Arctic air coming back into picture, and that should develop another area of low pressure off the northeast coast. And when that does, we'll have the wraparound on the backside. Behind that colder air, that changeover to all snow will be coming back in the picture for West Virginia, getting into portions of Virginia as well as into Pennsylvania again, New Jersey, back into areas of Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, getting up here into New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, back into the Maine area. We should start to see some heavier snows come back in the picture, and then definitely the Arctic air will be coming in on the backside. There's a 1046 Arctic high pressure. There's definitely some Arctic colder air underneath that, and that's exactly what we find ourselves in by the time we head into next Sunday morning. This is next Sunday morning, the 22nd of December. Yeah, all that air in the green, that's what it's going to feel like to the body, as that Arctic air will be diving into the lower 48. So you're back into the well below zero, feels like temperatures, negative teens, even in the 20s. Some areas negative 30 below zero. That's bone chilling cold coming back into the picture for the Dakotas, back into Minnesota, Iowa, back into Wisconsin. Negative numbers start coming back for Illinois, those areas in Chicago, getting into Michigan. Single digit feels like in Kansas, Missouri, teens back into the areas of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and feels like, well below freezing down here into the southeast, as that Arctic air will continue to plunge southbound and really will likely set up shop across the Ohio Valley, the mid-Atlantic, and into the North Carolina. That's where you're likely going to see the coldest anomalies and the full brunt of this Arctic air mass coming in for next weekend. And it looks like this as you head into, this will be next Sunday afternoon. So next Sunday afternoon just kind of gives you an idea of what it might look like. This is peak heating of the day, folks. Peak heating, we're talking feels like teens in the Kansas, teens in Missouri, teens in Illinois, and yes, that's teens in Virginia, North Carolina. So it's definitely going to be some bone chilling air. You're going to feel this Arctic air mass in a big way, and that should produce some snow with that cross polar flow, northwest flow type setup, diving down, and moderating those temperatures. But still, afternoon feels like in Atlanta, near Atlanta, you're talking potentially in the teens. So you're definitely going to be feeling this Arctic air mass. But there is the northwest flow setup. This would likely be your snow potential line, essentially from Minnesota to Iowa to Illinois, diving into portions of Tennessee, kind of breaks off and separates itself from Virginia. But anywhere north of this line would likely be in the path of some snow, if not some heavier snows at times over the next seven days time frame. But overall, the breakdown as far as the temperature anomalies look like this. Much of the West kind of misses out on this Arctic air mass that comes, but you're definitely going to be feeling it in a big way across the north central U.S. and in portions of the Ohio Valley into the Northeast, getting into the mid-Atlantic. The coldest anomalies will likely set up shop across the Ohio and Tennessee valleys, getting across into North Carolina. And yes, the colder anomalies will sink further south into the southeast, as well as much into Florida. Definitely the central U.S. is what you've seen as of late. We'll kind of get a glancing shot, if you will, of this Arctic air, and much of the West will kind of miss out on it altogether. And that's exactly what the Climate Prediction Center has, the sharp gradient between, December the 20th and December the 24th timeframe, has those warmer anomalies for much of the western regions. That's why we're getting the severe weather and some tornadic activity off the California coast, because it's just been so incredibly unseasonably warm out there. And then it's just completely the opposite out into the eastern U.S., where they've seen already the coldest anomalies for December. We'll have another shot of Arctic air and bringing those coldest anomalies back into the similar areas of the Carolinas and getting up along the coast of New Jersey, as well as into areas of Long Island. But overall, here's your snow for the next 10 days. Looks like this up until Christmas Eve. So you'll have that active polar jet staying alive across the northern branch, and then you'll have the cross-polar flow coming back into the picture, bringing that snow line back into the Dakotas, as well as into Minnesota, Iowa, portions of Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and then further as far south as Kentucky, maybe portions of Tennessee. But yes, anywhere north of this line, especially in the red area, you're definitely going to be seeing some snow over the next 7 to 10 days, as the polar jet will continue to remain alive and active, and another shot of Arctic air will be on the way. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch my next update. Why I protect you before and after the storm.